Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Brandon. Welcome to Audio Addiction, where you can find latest album reviews, you can find our band interviews, and you can find live coverage of the concerts that we get. I've been pretty AWOL as of recently, even though I feel like the channel really doesn't represent that as a whole. I've been pretty sick in the current time, and so this is the first day that I've felt pretty normal and back to the grind, back to the all that sort of stuff. So thank you for everybody who gave me a shout out and just wanted to see how I was doing. I really appreciate it. It means a lot. And but I'm feeling much better, obviously well enough to do a review. But I'm going to be doing a review of this, Invent Animate, and a handful of other bands, so definitely keep your eyes peeled for that. And if you have any suggestions for other albums you'd like to see me to review, let me know in the comments below. But tonight, we're going to be talking about 4 Years Strong's newest record, Brain Pain. So I've been a fan of this band since 2007 with their debut record, Rise or Die Trying, and I've really followed their work ever since with Enemy of the World back in 2010 and in 2011 in some way, shape, or form, and then they're self-titled in 2015. I know that they've released a smattering of EPs as well as a pretty much a 90s cover record, Explain It All, and so I've been just a fan of their work from the beginning. I've always felt like they were one of my favorite bands, and they still are one of my favorite bands, so I was very excited to hear this record and kind of delve into it. For those of you who don't know, the record is out now, so go pick it up. Go check it out at your local record store. I picked it up at shoutouts to Creep Records in Philly over the past weekend, so I was definitely very stoked on that. But we're gonna go through each track. I'm going to give you my thoughts and opinions on it, go through some pros and cons, and then finish it out with an overall rating. So the first track is called It's Cool. They released a music video of this one pretty recently, which is very awesome. I was going to say It's Cool too, but that would have been a very bad pun. But getting into the track, I really love the gritty guitar parts and just their overtones that they have with the reverb-laden guitar vocals from Alan and Dan, respectively. I think this song has such a really big kind of fullness to it, and it really takes me back just because it has this real like large sound to it, and I wasn't really expecting that from just this first song off the record. I really obviously listened to the single is just because I was curious, because it has been 5 years since their self-titled release, and so I wanted to see how they kind of changed up things over the years. They went with Will Putney this time around, which I think is very awesome. Will Putney is definitely killing it as of this year, and as of, I would say, within the past couple years, he's just been putting out some fantastic work. And obviously this is on that list as well, but I really feel like this song really kicks in at around the 1 minute and 30-second mark. That's when you really get that sort of atypical 4 Years Strong feeling to it. Not to say that beforehand it wasn't, but it just, once all the instrumentation comes in, it really sells home what they're doing. I like the more aggressive direction that they're going with this. It's not just straight like easy core, like really fast stuff from like Rise or Die Trying, but or like Enemy of the World, but I feel like it's more kind of a hodgepodge of like a little bit of Rise or Die Trying, a little bit of Enemy of the World, and I'd say a good majority of what they were doing in the self-title. But I like the way that they're going with this direction so far. I also love the part between the 2 minutes and 57-second mark to the end. That part is super gnarly. Definitely would be curious to hear it live, and I don't know how much of the new album that they have played so far, but I almost have a good feeling that they would be playing this song live. So we're gonna move into track number 2, which is Get Out of My Head. This one, I would say, outside of It's Cool, is probably the most recent single. I love that this has more of kind of a grungy rock sort of feel to it initially, and then it really kind of builds into that more pop punk familiarity that you know and love from 4 Years Strong. I would say more specifically in the chorus is when you hear that sort of pop punk, FYS tinge to it. But I love the way that Alan and Dan kind of work so well together. I think that they've really worked together well over the years anyway, regardless. But a lot of these songs show off their abilities to create really great melodies and harmonies, and just how they fit well together over the years and mesh together, and, not only just pair well with each other, but also have their moments of, their own singular voice, which is definitely a strong suit of the band, without a doubt. And I also love that Joe gets a lot of spotlight in this record in general, playing the bass. I really feel like he makes a lot of these songs have this really roundness and fullness to him. I feel like that's obviously what the bass does, but there's just something that's just a little bit more forward about what they're doing with the bass, and I think it's very awesome, considering they really don't do anything, really elaborate with like effects or like overlaying, other than maybe like the vocal harmonies. It's really straightforward. You got the drum beat, you got the bass parts, you got the two guitar parts. Like, it doesn't feel like, there's a lot to work with, but the way that the bass kind of pops out in certain parts of the melody and certain parts of the chorus and the verse and the bridge, it just really works. And I love that chorus. I think every time that comes in is definitely one of my favorite parts of this track. So we're going to move into track number 3, which is Crazy Pills. This one feels to me like an old school 4 Year Strong song for sure. The chorus is super catchy. I love the melodies in this track. I feel like that is something you will be hearing a lot throughout this entire review, but I really do enjoy the way that they kind of concoct their melodies. It just works out beautifully. But it just has that classic 4 Year Strong feel to it, and I know that some people weren't feeling as much of the old school stuff, but I don't think it's as apparent as most people perceive it to be. It's a little bit more reserved, but I still think if you dig a little bit deep, you can hear those moments of like, okay, this is 4 Year Strong. They really haven't gone too far out from what I know them to be. My favorite part was the breakdown at around the 2 minutes and 22 second mark to around the 2 minutes and 40 second mark. Super awesome. I think that this song, while it isn't too crazy or just out there with effects, I think it is a very good, straightforward 4 Year Strong song. So we're going to move into track number 4, which is Talking Myself into Circles. This is one of the first singles that was released with Brain Pain. And this one is also a music video if you haven't checked it out. But I will say this one at first was not my favorite track. And even listening through to the record many times, it didn't really grab me until maybe like the 4th or 5th time that I listened through that I was like, man, this really fits with the record. I also feel like just generally as singles, I don't really base the record off of, the singles. However, I feel like this song in particular has a lot of those more like off-kilter sorts of moments on this record, and I think it does it super well. But I will say that this song definitely grew on me. I was not expecting it to, honestly, just because when I first listened to it, I was like, this is very poppy. It's a very, it's very like different from what they typically do, and I just felt like it wasn't, what I know and love 4 Year Strong to be. But as I was listening to that and I was listening to the self-title, I was like, okay, there's like tinges of that, and it just, as I kept listening to it, the melodies got in my head, and it just was immediate that I knew it was one of the better tracks off the record. And the chorus is monstrous. I think it is one of the best choruses off the record. And again, much like in Get Out of My Head, I like that this one is, again, more bass focused. They really, procure a lot of really great bass parts throughout this entire record, but I would say that this one is one of the better ones, without a doubt. And I just like how they really kind of align with the vocal melodies. The lead guitar and the vocals really just work together in harmony, and I think it's just overall a really solid track that I didn't feel like I was gonna like at first, but as I've been listening to it more and more, it's one that I've grown to love for sure. So we're gonna move into track number 5, which is Learn to Love the Lie. This one is another music video single. If you haven't checked this one out, go do so. Go check out all the music videos. They're extremely well done. But getting back to this track, I was hooked immediately. As soon as I heard this song, I just knew that this was going to be one of my favorites, and I can say with certainty, after literally beating that single into the ground, listening to it so many times, I've still love it. I still love this song so much. I think Alan and Dan just fit super well in this track. I love how they play off of each other in the verses, and then just in the chorus they match up super well. I think it's just really fantastic, and I think it's their best foot forward as a band over the years. I think that they've really created some really great strong melodies, but this one I feel like is one of those songs that is one of those standout 4 Year Strong tracks that if I was to show this band to somebody, I would show them this song along with, like Bada Bing with a Pipe, or like, some other classic 4 Year Strong songs like Wasting Time. I feel like this one is up there with those classics for sure. It's catchy, it's upbeat, it's very pop punky, which I love. And I just love the energy that they brought on this track. It obviously isn't a very like happy song, but just the way that pop punk is, it just has this happy feeling to it. The melodies are fantastic in this track, and they get stuck in your head, and I love it. So definitely give this one a listen if you haven't already. It is one of my favorites without a doubt. So we're going to move into track number 6, which is Brain Pain, the title track of the record. And this one took me by surprise. Even when I first listened to it as a single, it's really unlike anything that they've done in the past. I would say maybe Rise or Die Trying, or maybe like something off of In Some Way, Shape, or Form. I'd say maybe those two would come like kind of close, but I think generally it's very different from what you would expect from 4 Year Strong. But as the song progresses, I feel like it becomes more familiar. Once you get into the first verse and the chorus, I feel like it really kind of delves into, what you know to be 4 Year Strong. And I'm really loving this sort of darker riffing and the tonality brought in with this track. I feel like it's balanced out well with the sort of more happy, pop punky sort of feel chorus. But I would say one of the best parts is the 2-minute mark to the end, this bridge / outro. Super gnarly. I really dig how aggressive they got with this track. I think it's very similar to It's Cool, in my opinion. It's just one of those standout tracks that just is a little bit, a little left to center from what 4 Year Strong does. It's definitely a little bit more heavier. It's a little bit more in your face, but I love the direction that they're going, and I'm actually kind of surprised that they're going a little bit heavier as the records have progressed over the years. I feel like they would maybe go a little bit softer like most bands do, but I love that they're keeping with the aggression, and I hope that they continue along with this, because they have these moments of great melodic parts, but they also have these great moments of just heavy brutality. So definitely dig this one a lot. Give this one a listen. So we're gonna move into track number 7, which is Mouthful of Dirt. This one also, much like Crazy Pills, has this strong sort of old school 4 Year Strong feeling to it. You can hear it a lot in the writing style of it. It's very punchy, it's lively, it's what you expect from 4 Year Strong at this point. If you've been a fan for a long time, or if you're a new fan, it's definitely one of those classic sort of vibe tracks that hopefully will inspire you to check out their other discography. So we're going to move into track number 8, which is 17. I thought this one for sure was going to be heavier based off of that intro portion of the song, but it really mellows out once you get to like the pre-chorus and the chorus. But I also like the juxtaposition between, they have some really heavier elements in this track, but also it's balanced out with some very melodic portions of the song. And I feel like at certain portions it can't decide what it wants to be, and again, that's what a 4 Year Strong song is to me a little bit in some respects. It's just that kind of flip-flop of different things. I think that's probably why I enjoy Brain Pain a lot, even though it's a little bit more upbeat. But the melodies in this track are really, really well done. I think that this one melodically written is probably one of my favorites. And I also love the chorus, especially the last chorus on this song. Is just monstrous. Definitely give this one a listen if you're interested. So we're going to move into track number 9, which is Be Good When I'm Gone. This is that atypical acoustic track off the record, but I feel like they did a little bit of different stuff to make it interesting and very cool. I also like that just the production value of this song is brought up. They have some really great string portions. They have this really bright atmosphere, but it also has this kind of full band acoustic sort of sound to it. The bass kind of has this like acoustic-y sort of vibe to it. The drumming isn't like in your face, it's a little bit more reserved, and it's just one of those kind of like a song you would put around or play at the campfire. And it's just a well-written track. I think it shows off their more softer, more vulnerable side, and I always love when they do that. I really enjoyed their acoustic record that they did, where they reinvented a lot of their older songs in an acoustic manner. And I think this is a really great representation of their softer, more melodic side for sure. So we're gonna move into track number 10, which is The Worst Part About Me. I think that this one in particular, the thing that stands out to me the most is definitely Jake's drumming in this track. He really does some great job with some awesome fills and some really unique double bass lines that really kept me interested as a listener. I would say instrumentally, in terms of the guitars and the bass, it's not like too crazy. I think it is, standard level of what For Your Strong does, but the drumming was just really outstanding in this, and I think it really fits with the whole vibe of this song. I also love the more melodic feel of it as well. I think that they just really arranged it super well, and it just has this sort of different vibe to it that is unlike a lot of the other tracks off of this record. So to me, it has this sort of standout appeal. While I might not have a lot to talk about in terms of it, I think it is a unique song nonetheless. So we're gonna move into track number 11, which is Usefully Useless. This one is one of my favorites. I'm just gonna say it right out the gate. I think that this one is probably one of their best well-written tracks. It has this really great pop punk energy that you know and love, strong melodies, strong harmonies. It's fun, it's upbeat. I think it also is just one of those songs that you can listen to front to back, and it just is phenomenal from start to finish. And it feels very much like one of their older songs from their last record, their self-titled, but just really spot on melodies, and I think that they've really been able to crush it on kind of the written aspect of and just arrangement of the songs. And I think that has a lot to do with working with Will. They were really able to hone in on what they wanted on each track, and I really do feel like they've achieved what they were searching for, at least from a kind of non-band perspective. I think they really kind of nailed that part. So we're going to move into the last track number 12, which is Young at Heart. I think they really did an interesting job with this one. This one is, I feel like, the black sheep of the record. It has this really big intro to it. I think very similar or on the same level of It's Cool. It does take a little bit for the song to kind of come and kick in, but once it does, it has more of a rock feel to it. I think it is a solid track overall, but I really probably, out of anything off of this song, I would say the experimentation of it was probably the best portion of it. I wouldn't say it really directly hits home for me, but I think that the way that they were kind of able to experiment on this track, I think really, doesn't make me hate the song, but I think that is not one of my favorites, without a doubt. So we're gonna move into some pros and cons. I feel like, again, my major con about it is the last song. I thought that for sure they would end it on like kind of a big strong note, and this one just feels a little bit less I guess, aggressive or like high energy, and I know that a lot of the record on this record is really high energy in your face. So I thought for sure they were just gonna hit us with like an absolute banger. I think that this one, just kind of lacked a little bit of focus and a little bit of punch. I think it could have been swapped out with maybe another song off of this record that would have made it a little bit more effective. But I think overall, I don't really have any other cons about it. Some pros, I think it's a good mix of old and new. I would say there's probably more newer stuff off this record, but I think there are definitely hints of the past with some of the songs off of this record, more specifically Mouthful, Dirt, and Crazy Pills. I feel like those two definitely feel the most nostalgic to me. I think vocals have always been their strong suit, and I feel like in continuation with what they're doing, this one is another really fantastic record that both Alan and Dan sound fantastic on. And I think that it's just a fun record. It's really diverse. There's some really heavier tracks. There's some more melodic bass tracks. And I think overall, it's just a really catchy record from start to finish. There wasn't a song that I particularly was just like a standout track to me. I think they're all very solid. But I would say that every vocal melody, every harmony was just arranged very well, and salute to Will Putney for putting together such a great record, and obviously for 4 Year Strong's to put out a great record as well. So my overall rating for 4 Year Strong's Brain Pain, I'm going to be giving it a 9.6 out of 10. Definitely one of the better pop punk, if not one of the best pop punk records so far this year. I know we are only in March, but I think they really knocked it out of the park with this one. Obviously, despite my gripes about track number 12, Young at Heart, but I think overall the record from start to finish is really well executed, and I think a lot of you will enjoy this record. So let me know in the comments what you think about it. It's been out for a couple days, so I'm very curious to see what other people think about it. If you agree with me, if you disagree, I'd love to know your opinions on it. And if you enjoyed this content, make sure to share it, like and subscribe. It goes a long way. And if you enjoy any of this other content, make sure to check that out. Like I said, I have plenty of awesome stuff coming, and I hope you'll tune in for that. But like I said, my name is Brandon. We hope you got your fix, and we'll be talking with you soon. Peace.